What up, Gromies? Today I invited Mad Hatter Organics on to have a little chat about basic soil recipes and getting started growing organic. He happens to run his own YouTube channel with growing, organically, using a lot of different natural methods, as well as like getting some automation in there as well. So, um, yeah, let's have a little chat about some basic soil recipes and getting started with organic. Now, how'd you end up going about getting started into organics, and what kind of soil mix did you go for at first?
Uh, really, I didn't even really realize I was going into the organic thing. But I tried, what was it Ocean Forest,
Okay.
and I was growing autoflowers at the time, and people were saying Ocean Forest is too hot right from seedling. It's too hot. So, but I didn't really listen to it. I just started them off and had I had really good success, and nutrients started to deplete after a month or so, and I could start to see the deficiencies, and so I went back to the salts, and I kind of clued in right there that I just wanted to go organics.
Nice.
It was just this simplicity of water only.
You want to
Yeah.
go back to being able to water that and not have to worry about
Yeah,
bottle this and bottle that and how much do I combine this together?
What order do I combine it together in?
Yeah.
yeah,
Because some of that matters, especially if you're adding the silica and a lot of nutrient mixes. You got to do that in a specific order. Otherwise, it'll lock it out, and it'll actually
Yeah.
participate in the.
I've seen it ball up silica
Mhm.
into like a jelly substance that'll tumble and fall to the bottom of your water reservoir, and that's no good
Yeah, you
for
gotta
anybody.
gotta add that stuff in first and let it sit for a few minutes before you start adding the rest of your stuff in.
Oh yeah.
Dissolved, right? Right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No.
I was having a lot of issues with CalMag, like a lot of people, but with the bottle nutrient stuff, I just wanted to get rid of it, get away from having to deal with that. So I had to find a different solution, and organics was the way. I really haven't had a CalMag issue since.
That's awesome to hear. I mean, because that's the kind of the industry joke going on around
The
like
meme,
the
yeah.
whole cannabis community is, oh, just put more CalMag on it, you'll be good.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we
Exactly.
need to make some shirts got CalMag, bro. Something.
Yeah.
I mean, quite similarly to you, we grew a couple of times with the salts, and we're like, there's got to be a better way. I'm sick of hauling all this soil out back and trying to scatter it. I'm sick of, because you can't really reuse it a whole lot when you use, just like a cocoa and salt newts. You can't really reuse that too many times. You can try to rinse out the cocoa and get one more use out of it, but that's still sketchy because you could still have
Trying to
lockout.
prepare like 30 to 60 gallons of water for that amount of work and to get the mixes just right and the pH is just right and dial it. I was spending hours a week easily just on trying to make sure the reservoir was right.
Yeah, and then you go and buy those $10 Amazon pH pens, and it just it ends up screwing you in the long run, right? Like it just gets so out of calibration,
Out of whack.
out
Yep.
of whack. Yeah,
It works all right for the
why?
first, 4 or 5 weeks, but then you try to use that again, you're gonna
Start you're
realize,
watering with
yeah.
like 9.0 and shit. You're like, I'm doing
Yeah.
it right. I'm doing it. I did it good.
I literally I went out and bought a Blue Labs pen. It was like
Mm.
$120. I was like, sweet, I'm gonna have pH on point now. And then like a month later, switched to organics. Never used it. It's literally still in the box. Like, oh,
I still
Blue
pull.
Lab like offers a organic version of that pen I've seen people use,
They
but
have a soil pen.
I don't have. Yeah, I don't have a. I guess if I wanted to get really into it again and like really be able to minutely track everything, that'd be
yeah,
awesome. But I don't have a use for it really.
yeah.
If something
I
was
mean,
going bad, I'd buy it.
yeah, it's a good thing to have on hand, just to check once in a while. Just like a pH pen is still to have on hand, just to check your water once in a while. Just make sure your filter's still running well. Because the tap water, usually from a lot of different places, will vary from season to season and will change up on you. So it's a good thing to check it once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah, like a week after I bought that pen, my dad actually gave me an old pH, or I'm sorry, a Blue Labs combo meter. So it
Nice.
does all the TDS, EC,
Oh
temp,
hell yeah.
pH, and all that. It was like a $300 unit, and so the pen got stuck in the box, and I just ended up using the combo meter. So,
Yep.
but every once in a while, check my pH on the water just to make sure nothing's crazy out of whack or anything. But I don't rely on it.
Oh, absolutely. Now, for a lot of people starting out there, the from what I've seen and from what my experience, uh, pretty much every single soil recipe out there starts the same. It starts with 33% sphagnum peat moss, 33% aeration, and 33%, compost and earthworm castings. And then it usually strays a little bit from there using different amendments, uh, maybe from Down to Earth or Dr. Earth or even Gaia Green up there.
Maybe you
And
don't like that lava rock, so you're gonna go for like clay pellets or something, you know.
now, when you ended up starting to mix your soil a little bit more, what did you end up choosing to do? Did you end up getting some of the Gaia Green, or did you get a bunch of single different amendments and mix them yourself?
You know what? I'm gonna kind of give out a shout out to Mr. Canuck Grows there. He had a super simple recipe, and I even got called out on it on I think it was Mr. Growitz's channel there in the comments. He's like, "Why wouldn't you give?" Someone said, "Why wouldn't you give Mr. Canuck Grow a shout out? That's basically his recipe." So shout out to him. I
I mean,
used his.
shout out to him, and bigger shout outs to Gaia Green for making a product is worth shouting out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. Um, I ended up using his recipe. I tweaked it a bit for my own stuff. I don't use exactly what he uses, but
Yeah. And I
it's
mean,
similar stuff.
he's killing it, man. He's damn good at content creation. He's good at making sure his grows are tight. He's got everything on point, you know. I
Yeah,
think everybody really respects that, so it's easy to get tied up in like, oh well, that was Canuck's recipe. Well, these recipes have been around for like 30, 40 years, and before he was in it, before I was in it, before any of us even knew about this shit.
yeah, yeah.
Now,
I just
you like growing in beds, or you got larger fabric pots? What do you like doing?
So when I first started doing the ocean forest, I did it in fabric pots, 5 gallon fabric pots. Then I switched to 3 gallon plastic pots. Had better success with the plastic for some reason. Um, and then I was just so sick of like overwatering, underwatering,
Mm-hmm.
just messing around with that. So I found an automation solution, and I went with auto pots. It's just
Nice.
uh, a sip system basically. It floods the tray that the pots sit in, and the capillary action just pulls water all the way through the whole pot. So
Awesome.
they're 4 gallon plastic pots that sit
So
in a
just for
little water
clarification,
tray.
these are getting watered from the bottom up.
Yeah,
Yep, via capillary action. There's usually like I don't know, there's some kind of capillary mat that sits in the bottom where you set the plant on, and
yeah.
that mat stays moist usually.
I use hydrogen clay pebbles.
Okay.
They soak up moisture pretty good, and has that kind of layering effect to be able to soak the moisture up.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
We gotta get into something more automated, man. That's one thing we don't have automated, and it's the only
Yep.
thing we really did.
We definitely need that. I personally have been really considering switching to 3 4x8 beds in the big bloom room there.
Yeah, 3
That,
rows of beds would be great.
I'm getting some blue mount systems there.
yeah, and getting some blue mats or even hand watering those larger beds will be easier because they'll remain moist longer and accept moisture easier because they don't dry out nearly as quick.
Yeah,
Even hand watering would cut the time down on the beds. But yeah, using some of the blue mat like a soaker hose would probably be ideal for something a bed
yeah,
like
for
that.
sure. I've been considering purchasing either earth boxes or finding a company that does a 2x2
Mm-hmm.
raised bed as well. I want to put autoflowers in my 2x4 tent while I'm vegging out my photo periods in.
Okay.
So I can have half my 2x4 tent with auto pots and then half of it with that 2x2 raised bed.
That's a great idea. I've been trying to convince Goblin to pick one of the tents that we got around here, and we'll just do autoflowers in that tent because it'd be something different. We could do it seed to harvest style, maybe get, Mr. Canucks style, Shout out again, Mr. Canucks.
Well, people
Get
wouldn't
some
be getting weekly updates
fun
on them.
videos.
Just saying.
No,
They're
it
the-
wouldn't be. That's not a weekly video update thing. That's a totally different project.
Yeah.
That's the point.
And it's gonna have to at least wait till that big slurs gets out of that side tent.
Again, it's a different project, and that's the point.
Oh, just pointing out different things that we have to do before we can get to that one. Now, interestingly, you say you did a little bit better with the 3-gallon plastic containers, and my theory on that is that, especially in the northern areas, we got quite low humidity during the winter times, and it means the pot's going to dry out quicker. Because especially if it's a fabric pot, it can breathe really well. And I think having that plastic pot allowed you to keep a little bit more of that moisture for a longer period of time, allowing it to do a little bit better. That's when like buying a more, I guess, premium fabric pot would come into effect there. Because you can get some really great fabric pots from like AC Infinity or Spring Pots for like $16 for like 10 of them. But if you want to get some really good ones, I would go with like the Grassroots fabric pots. They have one specifically for living soil that have a little bit of a plastic liner on the inside.
Okay.
And then it stops about 4 inches from the bottom. So it still breathes at the bottom and it still does the root pruning, but it allows it to also hold some more of the moisture.
It's interesting.
Unfortunately, they are a little bit more expensive, like I said, than the traditional fabric pots, but it does have that benefit.
Radical bags, then. What are those?
The radical bags are really great as well, especially because they're extremely UV resistant. They're made out of like recycled plastic, as well as they breathe really well, just like a fabric pot. Now, with the radical bags, you're going to do really well with like a super soil or a living soil, and you're also going to do really well using salts with that.
So it's just like an all-around, this is just a great pot for whatever scenario.
Yeah, but I will say that you will dry out even a little quicker with the radical bags. So you just have to be on top of your watering schedule and making sure you're keeping that more consistent moisture if you're running a living soil, or just if you are running some salts and you like to let it dry out a little bit before watering again, you may want to keep an eye on that the first few times because it may dry out quicker than you expect.
Rock and roll.
Yeah.
Now, do you like using like certain top dresses or compost teas or like additional microbe products?
Yeah. I do all my own composting out back, out of my house there. I have just a 55-gallon barrel that I cut a square into, and so I can, make it a lid. And I just compost all my scrap veggies and meats and everything. I use bokashi. I throw lots of bokashi in there, and so yeah, I just make my own compost, and I use that to brew compost teas. I'll add in worm castings. There's a company just 2 minutes away from me called Trad Worm Industries.
Nice.
And they have it's a worm farm, and they have worm castings and worms, and they're making little worm casting tea bags and everything. And so I add a bit of that into my compost tea, and then I also use a product called Microbial Mass.
Okay.
It's also just it's my micro product. It's fairly fairly similar to Mammoth Pea, I guess. Lots of people are comparing it to that, but it works wonders. It's awesome. It's an awesome product.
Awesome. So it's one of those phosphorus metabolizing bacterias.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Unlocks the bioavailability of the phosphorus. Um, and then I use humic acids as well,
Awesome.
just to revitalize the soil and help it stay alive. And uh, yeah, and then I also use um, a company called Green Planet. I use their liquid weight. It's a three-part sugar uh,
Okay.
solution just for feeding the microbes. Molasses and there's fructose and another one in there.
A few different complex sugars.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mm,
What are we
Nice.
using to feed our microbes?
Um, a lot of times we use what's called uh, Florida
Sulfur
sugar.
molasses.
I like to use what's called Florida sugarcane crystals. They're raw sugarcane crystals that haven't really been processed a whole lot.
Hmm.
It's just a little cleaner to use more often. And I still, once in a while, we still use the unsulfured molasses, but
Yeah.
heck, even sometimes in a compost tea, I'll totally omit a sugar source, especially if it's a compost tea that's for flowering plants. Uh, I'm trying to boost up the fungal dominance for
Yeah.
the flowering plant. So if you put a bunch of sugar in to a compost tea, you're trying to get more fungally dominant. You're gonna have a big bacterial bloom first, and it will make it harder for the fungal guys to proliferate as
Do their
quickly.
job. All right.
I also
I wondered about that because we used to run molasses more often, and as of recently, I haven't did as much or seen it around as much.
No, it's still sitting there on the shelf, but
Oh, I know. I see it there, but I'm never like, hey, Goblin, am I supposed to be using this? And it never crossed my mind until you just brought that up.
another one to use is coconut water, organic coconut water.
mm-hmm.
Uh, biggest
That's a
seed
damn
on
good
earth.
idea. Yeah.
And it's got tons of beneficial bacteria and microbes already in it, so it's
Bunch of growth hormones, natural growth hormones,
yeah,
So, Mad Hatter,
auxins.
do you
lots of
put that
sugar.
compost that you make? Do you end up mixing that back into your soil when you remix soils, or
No, I haven't used it yet. I don't know why I haven't used it yet. I should.
you should, man. At least try it
Yeah.
on a small batch if you're worried about some kind of fungal or bacteria growing and ruining your whole batch of dirt. You can always try it on something small first.
Yeah, try it on a small 3-gallon pot or something
Yeah.
separate from the system. Yeah, for sure. I just started it this year, so it hasn't fully broke down.
Yeah.
But the bokashi really helps break it down faster.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, me and Goblin were just talking about this because we've had a setup for a little bit in our backyard as well. We just kind of been too busy to utilize it to its fullest extent. And we're looking to kind of beef that up over the winter, maybe build something else, start throwing
Yeah.
stuff,
Getting a much larger
bokashi,
compost
like you're
setup.
saying, and just really speeding it up because ideally we'd like to be using that more.
A bigger
And the,
heap and getting it cooking to I think it's like 150 Fahrenheit or something.
Yeah.
Getting
yeah,
it nice and
150,
hot.
158.
Straight up, like that's been our main issue is the container we're using is just kind of too open, and it never gets to that level, you know.
And the thing is we got so many leaves that fall in our area that there's no need for us to have to go hunting for compost. Even though there's really great companies out there that make really good compost,
Yeah.
the more that you can source yourself and make yourself, it just closes the supply chain up and allows you to farm more sustainably.
Yeah, I mean, Grant, I'm
Yeah,
not a
exactly.
scientist or anything, but everything that I've used locally, whether it be a local worm cast company or just a local nutrient company for organic nutrients, the plants know where you live. somehow, and they like the local shit better. It's just like if you're around, you got like sinus allergies and you get a local honey, that's gonna help you more than a fucking random honey.
Yeah.
Yeah, the world of microbes is a mysterious and awesome one. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah, and it goes super super in depth. That's kind of where I went wrong right off the bat was trying to just dive too deep into things, getting
Hmm.
myself overwhelmed with the whole organic world, thinking that I needed that, you know, I need worms and I need this, I need that, but it's you
And that's
don't need
the
all that.
Yeah, you don't. You bring up a very great point. That's what I love about a soil system, whether or not you're doing a no-till or you're tilling it or whatever you're doing. Everything adds on to itself when you're learning about organic. So if you start out by mixing up a super soil with the 1/3 of each of the ingredients we mentioned earlier and making a really super rich soil, and then you're going to remix that again the next time, just doing those actions, you're going to learn more about a no-till system, even though you are tilling.
Hmm. Yeah, and the difference between a super soil and a living soil and a no-till
Mm-hmm.
soil and an inert soil,
Yeah.
uh, you know, letting mixing up your super soil and letting it cook for a month.
Mm-hmm.
There's tons and tons of paths that you can go down, but don't get overwhelmed with it. It's super
No.
simple.
And that's the thing. Super simple. Follow one of the recipes out there online, whether it be a Class McCoots recipe, whether it be Mr. Canuck, doing his thing with the Gaia Green, even following what it says on the back of the package. A lot of these companies want to tell you exactly how to use their product because they want you to buy it again.
Mm.
Yeah. And if anybody has any questions about it, or I have a full PDF file about um, different soil recipes from Build a Soil, like you said, Clackamas Goods, and basic soil mixers, Kiss Organics. Just I have all the recipes, so if you
Yeah,
guys,
a lot of these recipes are freely available online. Mad Hatter happens to compile them all in one spot, which is awesome.
Yeah, for
Um,
real. Good job there.
yeah, if
but
you want any of the recipes, just hit me up. I'll email you the link, and
yeah.
yeah.
And that's the thing. You can get started with one of these recipes, mix it up, let it sit for a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks. When we say cook, for a lot of the new people out there, it doesn't mean necessarily put it in an oven and get it hot, but the act of you mixing all of these ingredients together is going to make that soil become more warm. You're going to be able to stick your hand in that soil and feel that it's a warmer soil. And that's
They
Yeah.
call that a exothermic reaction.
Yeah, and it
correct.
lets the microbes actually have enough time to break down those nutrients and be able to have it plant available.
Yep. And then basically when it's done cooking, you'll be able to put your hand in there and it's going to feel like room temperature. And your soil's ready to go after that point. And then you can just
Perfect.
use that soil.
Yeah, perfect room temperature soil is what your roots like.
Mm-hmm. Especially, 75, 78, not too warm, but, warm, you know, room temperature.
Yeah.
Now, I know I've had a few questions from people going, well, after you mix up the soil and it's all ready to go, can you plant seeds directly in that?
Yeah, I mean that's what I do. The living soil, because I do, let's say 25% cocoa, 25% living soil, 25% worm castings, and then 20% rice hulls and 5% dry amendments. Um, so the living soil is actually already cooked and already ready to go with nutrients already, good to go, ready for the plants to eat, to uptake. So all the rest of my soil mixture will have that three weeks to sit there and build up and cook and yeah, I plant seeds right into my soil mixture and away they go.
Yeah,
And
same
it's same
here.
here. Yeah.
We've never had a problem with it. I always hear this issue that, oh well, the dirt's going to be too hot for your seeds or seedlings, and I've never had that experience personally. I think if you are having that problem in an organic grow, you probably initially made your mix too hot,
Yeah.
which can happen, and it's easy to get those ratios confused and maybe put 2 parts too many of one thing and 1 less of the other one. I've done it. We've all done it.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think that's mainly where that stigma came from, was mixes that were initially made too hot and then used too early. I think if you
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
you got your ratios down, if you're actually doing a third or 33% of each ingredient with like the 5% amendments, like Mad Hatter said, there's virtually zero chance of you burning a seedling or a seed.
Or even a clone if you're transplanting
Yeah,
a
or a
clone.
clone. I've
Oh,
do all those things for a long time now and never had that happen.
Yeah. No, neither have I. I see the living soil being the small amount of nutrients that you need to get started, and after they're established and ready to go, your whole super soil mixture is ready to go, and yeah, yeah, I've never had an issue. So
It was propaganda invented by the salt community. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
damn you, Monsanto.
now, we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier on the overwatering, underwatering, and you're like, I can't do that, so I got to get automated. If you are a newer grower, um, what would you think would be an easiest way to tell them how to not over or underwater if they are watering by hand still?
uh Roots love oxygen. They want aeration. So just rice hulls, perlite, even adding lava rock or hydrogen to your mix too, just to get your aeration up in your soil. They want to be able to breathe, so uh, having that aeration is will help that root system not drowned out in your overwatering. Uh, if you're underwatering, then you're just kind of doing it wrong. But
True, true.
Yeah, and guys, I feel like a good way to test this, if you feel like you're underwatering, if you lift the plant up and it was way too easy to lift,
oh yeah,
there's not enough water in that plant. You need to water it just a little bit more.
yeah. That was the next point I was gonna get at. If you're in pots and not in a fabric bed or anything, but in pots, yeah, just lift them up. You'll be able to tell right away if you're way underwatered. Um, they're just feather light at that point.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I'm telling you, Mad Hatter, we had a real tall night terror in there that was just drinking them, and I went to check that, and just went to lift it a little bit, and I flung it into the Medigrow, like hard. It was like I was just whipped it.
yeah, yeah,
You're
thinking it's gonna be
expecting
a
it.
lot heavier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, now that we brought up quite a few different points already on, what new people should consider when they're starting to grow organic, and maybe some fabric pots or beds or even plastic pots they might want to use for different reasons. Um, I mean, anything other than that is you guys just need to go out there and give it a shot. Like, just start, like we said earlier, start mixing that soil, give it a shot, get a plant in there. And once you start allowing the soil to feed the plant instead of you trying to feed the plant, you'll end up being able to learn a lot more from the plant.
Yeah.
And you'll be able
Yeah,
to
that's so true.
you'll
When
be
you're
able to
doing too
spend the
many
time.
things,
Yeah, you'll be able to spend the time to maybe try a training technique out. You'll be able to spend the time to de-leaf properly, or to do a lot of these other tasks that are needed while growing, and you're not having to worry about the main thing, the feeding the plant.
Mhm.
yeah, I'd
I
say like it like gives you control over more variables. You don't have control over the process necessarily, but you have more control over the variables. You can see when something's going wrong. Well, I use the same exact blend. What happened this time? And you can start eliminating things a little quicker. But when you're using let's say bottled nutrients, and you've got 6, 7 bottles that you're using. You don't know which one of those you use incorrectly. It might be a lot harder to figure out what you did wrong in that run compared to last run, or whatever might be.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think
exactly.
these bottles give people this false idea of security that, well, if anything happens, I've got a bottle for it. And that's not always the case.
Yeah, and the money aspect too. I After switching to organics, I've probably saved, at least 50%. Like,
Oh yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah.
I don't have to go and buy a $30 bottle of CalMag or a $30 bottle of A and B, or
it's crazy, crazy ridiculous. I mean,
And then
we
sometimes a
we
little bit of that
grow.
stuff works. Sometimes you got to use a bunch of it, and then you're using a full $40 bottle through half a run, and now you're at $80 for that line
Yeah.
for one run.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And that's the thing. Like, you switch to organic, you definitely save a lot of money because we grow a decent amount of plants here because we're growing for 4 different individuals here. But at the same time, if we were growing with like a Nectar of the Gods or a Floraflex or any of these other lines, we would be spending probably triple. And that's
Yeah.
it's not trying to put down Floraflex or Nectar of the Gods or any
Great
of these.
products.
They're great products, but it's the fact of the matter is I can have a year of growing for $250, or I can have one run for $250.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You're looking at about $2,500 a year in bottled nutrients with a regular size grow, or
Yeah.
more, depending on how big things are getting, or how rough your water is, and how much you have to treat it, or there's so many variables that go into that. And I think letting nature take care of a lot of those things is just so much simpler. Trust nature. It's been here longer than us.
Yeah, exactly. Even the composting, right? Like, you're wasting all the food anyways. Why not put it in a bin and buy a $10 bag of bokashi and have compost? Take your old
Absolutely.
soil, mix that into your compost bin as well. Mix it all up.
Yeah,
It just
for real.
a couple
And
months, you got brand new soil again.
it's nearly free
Yeah,
because you bought the food, you ate
Doubles
some
where
of
you're
it,
buying that food.
you know, you composted the rest. And the unfortunate fact is, at least for us in the U.S. here, is we waste about 40% of all the food that comes into the United States and or is grown in the United States.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
yeah,
if we can at least compost that into something that can create us more food, it's not so much of a waste. But still, then we need to work on not wasting as nearly as much because there's people out there, going without. So we need
Doesn't
to,
make a whole lot of sense. Yeah.
yeah, we need to work on that.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it was weird to me when I found out that there's an actual process where when they harvest fruits and vegetables, they'll eliminate ugly ones.
Hmm.
Just there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with it. It was uglier. It's like,
I work for a trucking company and we haul produce, cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, lettuce, all that stuff. And I pick up from the distribution warehouse, and they sort through all the vegetables first. And I drive by the waste truck every day, and it's full, like, a 10-ton truck,
straight up
completely full of just perfectly good tomatoes and cucumbers, but they
Might
just have
have a
this little
nick.
tiny little
Yeah.
blemish on it, and it's like, no, canceled. It's like,
damn. All of a
really?
sudden, they see Mad Hatter climbing up there with a fabric bag, and he's filling this thing up. He's like, "Nah, I gotta take this home, man. I'm sorry."
It
This
does
is
go to good
compost.
use. They're like Tradworm Industries.
Mhm.
They reclaim all that stuff. They use it to
Nice.
feed their
Deal.
worms.
Good deal.
There's a company called Loop. They come around. They feed their pigs and their cows and stuff with all that stuff. So it doesn't go to waste, but it goes to waste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I definitely encourage anybody that wants to give it a shot at composting at home. Definitely give it a shot, especially with the bokashi. You can throw almost anything in the compost with the bokashi, like
Yeah.
meats,
Meat. Yeah.
nearly everything, oils and citrus rinds. Everything you were told not to put in a compost pile, you can put in a
All okay
bokashi.
again.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they say not to put meat and stuff in there to attract critters like raccoons and possums and stuff. But yeah, if
You can
you've got it
always,
contained enough, then
yeah, you can always mitigate those problems.
yeah. And
And
composting is super simple.
yeah, like once you have it down, like there's just a few key concepts you got to have down, and it's super simple.
Yeah, yeah. Don't add stuff like onions and too many tomatoes and citrus stuff. It raises the pH levels. And um, uh, orange peels, they don't really like to break down. A lot of things don't like to eat them. So
And trying to
there's
keep that 30-to-1 carbon ratio as best
yeah,
you can, and
yeah.
that's about it.
Say what? You can't just throw that in there and be like, oh, that's all good.
Well, when you're composting, there's things called browns and greens,
Mhm.
and the browns have more carbon in it than the greens, and the greens have more nitrogen in it. And you need to have the proper combination of brown and green to get the compost started
So
and
if
to
you're
keep it
me,
going.
composting's probably not a great idea if you're colorblind.
Well,
Well, you can tell grass clippings versus leaves.
and then that's the thing is like, if it died and stayed green, it's still a green for a compost pile.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But if it
That's
died,
important to know. Most things do not stay green after they die.
if it died like grass and whatnot, and it turned brown, that's a brown now.
That's interesting.
So, but a lot of people have abundance of leaves from trees, at least in the northern areas. That a lot of people do, and then a lot of people have grass clippings from their yard. Just those two ingredients, you can make a good compost with.
Yeah, I just did my fall cleanup of all my leaves last weekend and built this massive pile of leaves, and I'm just gonna let it cook over the winter and see what it turns out like in the spring, and maybe add some to the compost and
Absolutely, and
do some experiments with it.
that's gonna be some really
super cool too. My buddy did that one winter. The guy that and it was just literally a giant circle in the back in his backyard of just the heat ring around it, and it was
Oh
like
yeah,
he had no snow in his backyard. Everything else was piled up.
yeah.
And that's the thing. You can compost all year round because it'll create the heat to keep it going as long as you have the pile big enough. The minimum is a 3 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot tall. That's the bare minimum.
That's why they say to empty your grass clippings out of your lawnmower. Don't let them sit there in your garage or your shed or something, because they could potentially get so hot that they could spontaneously combust and
Yeah, compost fire.
yeah.
I had mine compost in my shed, and then when I picked it up, it was just slime, garbage mess, and I
Yeah.
had to re-bag that, which wasn't fun.
No.
Point being, he's right. Take care of your shit right away. Don't put it in your shed.
Yeah.
Now, I think this has been some really great talk about how to get some beginners into growing organic with some really basic information. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the people out there to maybe get them started and maybe come follow you over on your YouTube channel?
Yeah. I don't know. If you want to follow me on my YouTube channel, it's Mad Hatter Organics. Just started it maybe 7 months ago, but slowly working my way up. I'm doing discussion topics and on different things and showing what garden updates and whatnot. And then a few little how-tos here and there. But getting started with organics, man, just keep it simple. Just don't get overwhelmed. Don't dive too deep into it. You don't need to. Just get started, and then slowly learn.
That's
Learn as you go.
right there, man.
Yeah.
Everything I've ever tried to jump into way too deep from the start, I quit way faster, and I hated it, and I never want to try it again, and it's just always a bad experience. Start slow, man.
Yeah. Don't overwhelm yourself and get too crazy about it. But there's super simple recipes like we've been talking about the whole time here. It's and like I said, if you want to hit me up, I've got soil recipes from all different companies. You can purchase all over Canada and all over the United States, and Just
Yeah,
get
I'm
into it,
jealous of
man.
that
You'll have
list.
fun.
That was a damn good idea, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just get into it, have fun.
Yeah.
And that's what I find so awesome about growing in an organic system, whether it be totally non-till or just a super soil or anything, is that you can learn as you go and you'll still get good results as you're learning.
Yeah,
Yep.
meanwhile,
Yep.
you're still getting the dankest of the dank that you wanted to see in the first place. So
Oh yeah.
you
Yeah,
get
and the
you
quality.
learn and you reward and you learn and you get a reward.
Yeah, the quality for myself has been tenfold. I noticed a huge difference in terpenes, the the smells and everything. The
Yeah.
like the frost. This I don't know.
Just
Like
all
people
around.
say that, oh, you can notice a huge difference growing organically and everything, but I don't really know if that's bro science or not. But it's hard to say.
Well, here's the thing. Even if you break it down to 100% just science, you can get the same results growing with salts. You can.
Yeah.
But you better be that scientist
Yeah.
Exactly.
because
I'm not saying it's
you
impossible,
need
but
to know
that's an
exactly
every
what you're doing.
that's an everyday, all day job right there, and you better be that smart.
And
You
no matter
better be
what,
ready
whether
for the
you're
challenge.
yeah, and no matter what, whether you're using salts or you're in a living soil, you will be using microbes to get those best results, no matter what system you're
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always something living in everything.
in. So that's why I like to especially for a lot of the new people and even veterans alike, just stick with the soil, stick with what we've known for 100 million years, and learn that because if you learn that to grow your own medicine, not only are you going to learn that to grow your own medicine, but you're going to learn that and you can grow your own food.
And then
You
you'll
can
understand the importance of if I do run this bottle of nutrient, I'm gonna collect my runoff. I'm gonna make sure it doesn't go back into the water table. I'm gonna do this, that, and the other thing to mitigate these problems that come from it. And you can do it the right way and feel good about it.
so yeah, like yeah, I definitely promote, definitely the newbies getting into the organics because it's just that much simpler. And the thing is, like you're saying, a lot of times people will get better results than what they would with salts because the soil can feed the plant and they don't have to micromanage it just like a person growing salts would have to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the thing about being fully in control of the cycle is you're fully in control of the cycle. You
There's so
gotta
many
you gotta
there's so
know.
many companies out there that are just water only.
Hmm.
It's just that simple, you know. You
And that's
don't
the
need
thing.
to be a soil scientist or a a scientist mixing up all your little nutrients in your petri dishes and whatnot, your beakers. And, yeah.
Don't
Oh,
get me wrong,
absolutely
it could
not.
be fun. It could be really fun.
And I love doing that kind of stuff. I'm a geek
Yeah.
about that kind of stuff. But the thing is do I need to do that? No.
No.
It's not practical for like a long term thing. If you're to do it for life, I think it's not practical. I think it's practical for a few runs or to see the difference between X, Y, and Z. But if you're a
Well,
lifer, you definitely want to check out organics. Give it a shot. It could change your life. It could change your opinion on a lot of things. Could make your life a lot easier as we're growing older. We don't want to do as much physical labor. I know that's true for me.
I know for myself, it was a lot of it was time. I
hmm
run fully automated. I have temperature controllers, humidity controllers, watering automation, and then adding organics into it. It took that extra step out of it where I like literally don't have to do anything. I can just sit back and watch. Once a month, I have to top dress and add a tea or whatever, and that's it. Like it's
Defoliate. Get the hell out.
yeah.
Yeah, and
I don't
like I
have
said,
time. Like I have a 4-year-old daughter and a wife, and I'm trying to start a little business and this and that. And it's like, yeah, I don't have time.
Yeah.
yeah, and
When it
that's the
was just
thing. When
about
you
the
only
plants, oh shit, don't get me wrong, I'd spend 16 hours down there, but damn, I need that time, man.
yeah, and when you literally have maybe an hour to maybe 2 hours uh to work on it every so often,
Mhm.
you need to take all the variables out, and try to automate as much as you can.
And being a new YouTuber as well, editing videos and being able to take
Oh,
videos and stuff is just
Oh,
it's
for real.
and the
that in
editing,
itself is a job. Like
yeah. the editing alone, you'd be like, well, I shot this video and it took me 20 minutes to shoot this video, but it took me 4 hours to edit it.
Yeah, for a
So
4-minute video.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like that shouldn't have happened. You're like, damn, I
Yeah,
need to.
props to these guys editing out like 4-hour streams and making a 20-minute video on here. Like,
Oh
holy
yeah.
shit.
Well, that's the
You
thing.
know, that's you look at Mr. Canuck stuff and it's like, no wonder he puts out
For real.
one video a month. It's like they're
It
25
took
minutes
them that whole
long,
month.
but it
Yeah.
took like
Yeah, it probably took them.
3 months of videoing and then a month of editing. It's
Mm-hmm.
crazy.
Took them that whole time just to get it done.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for stopping by, Mad Hatter, having a little chat on getting started with organic growing. Make sure everybody go subscribe to Mad Hatter Organics on YouTube. The link's going to be in the description. He talks a lot of the kind of same stuff I like to talk about, keeping it simple, growing organic, maybe making some of your own amendments here and there, composting yourself and whatnot.
Go over there.
Go check
smash
it
the
out.
Like button, subscribe. Smash the like on this one. Subscribe.
Yeah,
And
yeah, for sure. And if you guys, I started dabbling into the Jadam and KNF stuff too. I have
Mhm.
a bunch of PDF files on that. And if you want anything like that, just let me know.
Yeah,
Sure.
head over
Yeah,
on
I
there.
appreciate it, man. I'm super blessed to be doing these things. I love doing it.
Oh, absolutely. And it's awesome to being able to reach out with another person that loves to grow organically. And it's just so much easier to talk to somebody that's passionate about things you're passionate about,
Yeah. Yeah, I finally found what I love to do in life, and that's just grow,
Mm-hmm.
It's nice.
Abs-
It's nice to just have that one thing that you can always fall back on. Comfort zone.
For sure.
Absolutely. So thanks for stopping by, Gromies. Like I said, make sure you check them out and you have a good one.